This is going to sound like so much hate, and I swear it's not.
And now to go to arguably the toughest division in football, which is going to be very interesting to see. We are going to start, of course, with the division winner, Baltimore Ravens. Timmy, what do you think about the Baltimore Ravens season this year?
I think they're going to be a very good football team. They didn't really, if anything, they have gained in every spot. It was a very generic, like NPC.
Yeah. That was
My
NPR
bad.
Radio.
I was looking at
good football team.
I was looking at my phone while trying to make
football
a statement.
team. I am very happy with what the
Sorry, I forgot the word expectations.
Great
earlier.
team.
So that was way worse.
Wonderful team. Anyway, I think they're going to be good. I got no fault in them. I think they probably will be right around where they were last year. They have gotten better. They're getting Mark Andrews back. He's going to be hopefully healthy for the whole season. They get Derrick Henry, who's an upgrade at running back. They did lose a piece or two on defense, but I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. I think they're still very well coached. So I have them winning the division at 12-5. I think this is going to be a great team.
God, do you want to go or you want me to?
Go ahead. I've been batting second, so I'll let you go ahead for this one.
So I don't have the same high hopes as you do for this Ravens team. I think they still make the playoffs. But I do think they did get a little worse, in my opinion. I think they got better offensively. You get Derrick Henry, but I also think that losing Patrick Queen is going to matter. Having that middle of the field matters. It obviously depends. You have Justin Matabuki still. So they have a bunch of pieces still. They're not going to be a bad team by any means. They're going to still be a very formidable opponent for anybody going in. I have them legitimately just one game back at 11-6. So, I think they're still going to be a very good team. I just have a little bit of questions on exactly, will that defense be able to play at the same level? And what kind of chip is Lamar coming in with? He got to have a big chip, but, is he going to be able to really ascend and continue to be MVP Lamar, which I think he absolutely can be. We'll just see how it goes. But I got the Ravens 11-6 playoff team.
Yeah, it's interesting because Lamar lost 20 pounds. That's very interesting to me.
Yeah, I did see that.
We've seen him do nothing but progress as a passer. And I'm really interested to see what direction, if any direction at all, when it comes to running the football this year. Obviously, that's the strength of his game. But if you're losing 20 pounds, is that to be quicker in general? Or are you just really planning on just sitting in the pocket and letting Derrick Henry do the job when it comes to the run game? I love the addition of Derrick Henry. I mean, I can't think of any player I would want more in the backfield for Lamar Jackson than Derrick Henry. I think that's going to be a match made in heaven. Like Keenan, I do have questions. You lose Patrick Queen, but more importantly, you lose Mike McDonald, who did wonders with this defense last year. They got bit by the injury bug last year, much like every season, it seems like, with them through this Lamar era, and it just did not matter. So I do think they take a step back on defense. Think, like Keenan said, they might take a step up on offense with Derrick Henry, or they might control the ball even more, which they did a great job last year. But now you add Derrick Henry to that, it's going to be great. They've got a super tough schedule, but listen, they still got John Harbaugh. They're going to find their way to 10 wins. I got them at 10-7. The only two records I had for them was 11-6 and 10-7. I don't see them getting to 12 just because the schedule's so tough. I'll save more for what I think for these other teams because I don't want to give too much away, but I do have them at 10-7. John Harbaugh is just going to continue to succeed. No matter who the DC, no matter who the OC, he's going to find a way to 10, 11 wins. The way I praise the Harbaughs, Keenan, we're going to have to find a new name. I'm actually submitted to change my name to Kyle Jordan Harbaugh. So might need a new name for the podcast, but that's what it's going to be. So, but it might get declined. Who knows?
Or can you just get it hyphenated?
Harbaugh Warner, that would be interesting. Kyle Harbaugh.
So
That
you
actually, I like
keep
the
it?
sounds of that. We'll do that.
Thank you.
It'll be the
I appreciate it just for the sake of the pod.
Warner
so we can
Brothas
keep it.
Podcast, and then maybe in parentheses Harbaugh in there with who knows. We'll figure.
Well, I appreciate you thinking about the greater good of this podcast, but the Ravens will definitely be speaking more on when we get to the playoffs. We all have them as a playoff team because they're just one of the best teams in the league.
What kind of
we'll move on to
what kind of season do you guys expect from Lamar though? Like, what are you expecting this year? Do you think he takes a leap in passing and we get to see more of a 40 touchdown or a 35 touchdown passing season from him? Low pick numbers, or do you expect more of the dual threat, less of the dual threat? Like, what do we expect? Or do we expect even a step back?
I think that we're going to get a Lamar that's going to be pretty similar to last year, but I also think that the running is going to be a little choosier, but it's going to be almost more effective because they've finally gotten a running back in the backfield that is worth worrying about. J.K. Dobbins could have been that if he stays healthy. He doesn't. They have Gus Edwards. Obviously, Keaton Mitchell was there for a few weeks, but then he got injured too, and he was really showing to be. So with Lamar losing weight, I think you have a little bit more agility in the pocket. He didn't look obviously slower by any means, but the lightning speed that he had at Louisville, you don't really see all of that in the NFL. You see more explosion, even like in his second year, like that run against the Bengals or the spin move where he's just running. Like, you don't see as much of that anymore. I think you're going to see a little bit more of that kind of Lamar passing-wise be in the pocket. So I think you're going to get a pretty similar – I think you might get the inflated passing numbers. He was 24 touchdowns last year. You might get to 27. And I think you see running more sparingly but smarter, and it'll be more effective because when he gets in the open field, it's going to be lightning.
I agree with that. I think during the playoff game against the Chiefs, we saw there was a clip of OBJ talking to Lamar, and he was just asking him, why aren't you running? Like, you can see the opening, you're just not taking it. I think he's going to want to run a little bit more. I don't think that's going to hinder his passing. So I think from a passing standpoint, I think he's going to be right on with where he was last year. I think we could just see an uptick, maybe 100 total yards and like a touchdown or two on the season, just a little bit more running. And I think they might even do some more designed runs. Running the read option with Derrick Henry is going to be pretty scary. So let the defense decide who they want to try to tackle.
Listen, this isn't a bold prediction, but this is just a thought. You might have a play where Derrick Henry's the quarterback and Lamar's the running back. That's a legitimate
Lamar's
thing
in the slot, whatever.
Or in the slot, like where you might have him on like a jet sweep or like the quarterback like kind of drop pass that people that have been doing. Like, you might get that, and if that's the case, that offense is going to be fun.
They're going to be an extremely fun offense to watch. I can't wait. I've been waiting to talk about this division all summer, honestly. Like, I feel exactly the same way about this division that I felt last year, and this division had Kenny Pickett in it. So, I mean, this division is going to be entertaining. Last question about Lamar. Do you guys see with this weight loss, are you worried about an injury risk?
I'm not, because I know he's gotten injured a couple times, but for the most part, he's been very good about not taking unnecessary hits. So one like big thing I have about like Josh Allen is he just like looks for too much contact, where it's like, God, you are the franchise. Please don't get injured. But like Lamar does a very good job of either getting out of bounds, kind of sliding, or if he's gonna take a hit, it's not a direct hit, or he's kind of already going down and he'll kind of get touched more than he's gonna get popped. So I don't think it's gonna be too much of a concern. And he's quicker, so I think he can get away people easier.
I agree. I have no worries about injury. It's incredibly difficult to predict injury.
And he got injured from the pocket when he got really injured.
Yeah, when he had that knee injury, it was in the pocket. So I don't have any worries about it now.
I'm over here battling the same fly that got at Keenan a couple weeks ago.
It flew all the way to Vermont from Tennessee. It's like, we're gone.
Can we talk about the team I'm most excited to talk about in this division? They were second in the division. They were in the playoffs last year, and that's the Cleveland Browns.
Okay, I want to start with the Cleveland Browns. Sorry, Timmy. I'm gonna quickly start on the Cleveland Browns. It's not gonna be long. They are, to me, the worst team in the division. I have them at 7-10. I think that they're fine. I think that they're cool, but I think their quarterback position is going to be the downfall for them. You've got obviously a healthy Nick Chubb. You've got a defense that has Myles Garrett on it, which is already that gives you 2 wins. He's one of the only. He's probably now the only defensive player in the league that can get you wins now that Aaron Donald's retired. And him and T.J. Watt. But I don't like their quarterback position at all. I don't trust Deshaun. I don't trust anything unless you're trying to tell me Jameis is going to just turn their life around here, which is interesting. But I don't like their quarterback position at all. I think they're a 7-win team and the worst team in the division.
Timmy.
I definitely won't go that far to say that they're the worst team in the division. I think this defense is potentially one of the best teams in the division. If not, it's second. It's not. So I think that's going to keep them in a lot of games. I do worry a little bit about offensive personnel. They don't have Nick Chubb. He's going to be on the PUP list for the first 4 weeks at least. I think it's more realistic that he's on there for 6 to 8. I like Jerome Ford. He's solid. Amari Cooper's aging. They traded for Jerry Jeudy and then paid him. I don't really get that move. I didn't really see enough from Jeudy to warrant that, so that does confuse me a bit. And then I totally agree, Deshaun is definitely a big question mark. He's nothing that he used to be when he was in Houston, and it just hasn't gelled. To be fair, though, we haven't really seen a lot. He missed a lot of games last year, so I don't think that they're the worst team in this division. I'm going to give them a 9-8 season. I do have them missing the playoffs as well, but not last in the division.
Just a quick comment on Jerry Jeudy. It's gonna be a music comparison. I don't listen to much Polo G. Like he's definitely for the younger generation. But every time I do hear him, I'm just like, I don't see it. Like I don't get it. That's how I felt about Jerry Jeudy's entire career. Because I feel like people during his Broncos tenure, people would talk about him like he's in the classes of, like an Amari Cooper or, any of these top receivers, right? Like people just would be like, oh, Jerry Jeudy's a trade target. And I feel like I'm always left wanting more when I watch him play. Like I just never see these crazy highlights and never see this consistency. So I just don't get it with Jerry Jeudy. I actually like him in this situation where there is better receivers and he can kind of fall back, kind of like Stephon Diggs being the number 2 or 3. But completely with you there. I don't get why they paid him. I don't really know what your return is. And I don't think they really know what their return is because we haven't seen just that much.
He had a good 5-game stretch at the end of 2022. And he was showing a little bit of what he was at Bama because he was a very talented guy at Bama. But he had like a good 5 to 6 game stretch at the end of 2022. And people were like, oh, that's the guy we saw.
Listen, I loved this team last year, not because they were like a hard-hitting defense. It's because it was fucking chaotic as could be every single week. You never knew what you were getting from Deshaun. They lost Nick Chubb, I think week 2, week 1, right? Like it was the whole week 2. Yep. So same as Anthony Richardson. So you got nothing from him, which is a huge part of your offense. And you got to rely on Deshaun, who is like 4 years past his prime completely. Like they're like Texans Deshaun's never coming back. We did actually finally see some flashes of Texans Deshaun. And the game we saw he got injured, we never saw him again. And we wrote this team.
They also reworked his deal. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Reworked his deal today. And which I'm not really sure what that means. They moved everything from his guaranteed to like a signing bonus. They were able to do that. So they were able to clear up like 40-something million overall. And like this year, they now have like almost 60 in cap space. So they have some of the most cap space in the league because of the way they restructured his deal. So I'm not sure how true this is, but they cut Tyler Huntley today. And they're saying the reason why they're fielding offers for Jameis is because Deshaun feels threatened because they like Jameis more than him. If that's true, and again, this is why this is my favorite team, is because you could convince me of a 5-12 season for them just because it all the way falls off for Deshaun. Because if it falls off, it's going to fall the fuck off for this team. But they have so much talent on both sides of the ball, especially defense, especially at home. And they do have a true home field advantage. I have them actually at 9-8. don't know why. We say all this about Deshaun. Does anybody know his record in games he started last year?
6-1 or 5-1.
5-1. 5-1. I don't know how. I don't know why. But if he is even just slightly better than average, you're gonna get wins out of this team. And especially if Chubb comes back looking like Chubb, we don't know that. He suffered a terrible injury, a complete knee reconstruction surgery. That's hard to come back from. But they do have a good stable of backs. Maybe he can be on a pitch count. I don't know. But if they can kind of control the ball and Deshaun can't have some of the uglier games that he had last year, even despite being 5-1, they might just be okay. But if it falls off, it's going to fall all the way the fuck off for this team. And I can't wait to watch it because, I mean, I hope we do get some Jameis Winston starts. All-time chaotic QB. I mean, you want to talk about Eli Manning. That's Eli Manning without the Super Bowls. Talking about 33 touchdowns, 30 picks, 5,000 yards. I need more Jameis starting QB in my life. So I'm hoping that Deshaun misses a few games. Probably will. And I hope Jameis is still on that team because, man, this team is just entertaining. Even if it is 5-12, it's going to be the most entertaining 5-12 we get. So I'm locked in. I cannot wait to watch every single AFC North game this year. I just want Sunday Ticket or Red Zone just strictly AFC North pass. I could not watch the rest of the season and just be happy watching the AFC North this year. So, and the Browns being at the top of the list just from an entertainment standpoint, because you could tell me any single outcome minus the Super Bowl with this team.
All right. Moving on to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Timmy, you want to start here and talk about Pittsburgh? It looks like you're probably confident in. You love yourself from Russell Wilson.
I'm pretty sure I did this last year. The Steelers are one of the dogs this year. They're going to be a bad football team. That's my take. The preseason, I don't know if you guys choose to pay attention to Steelers preseason games, but hasn't looked very good. Not a lot of promise from either of the quarterbacks.
I think Wilson went 2 for 2.
I think this is Mike Tomlin's first year under 500. They're gonna miss the playoffs. They're gonna be last in their division. I'm pretty sure I did this last year, and it comes back to bite you every year. Can't bet against them, but I'm giving them 6-11. Bad football team.
Okay. So I said that the Browns were going to be the worst team in the division, and you guys were like, "No, they're not going to be the worst team in the division." I have the Steelers 7-10, so they're both 7-10. I just think that they're going to get the tiebreaker over whether it's the division, whether it's whatever, but they're going to sneak out a tiebreaker, and they're going to not be the worst team in the division. I don't love the Steelers team. Again, I don't love their quarterback situation. I think Russell Wilson's solid. I think Justin Fields has some promise, but I also think Justin Fields, if he was going to progress and be something, he would need an offensive-minded head coach. I know he's going to have the confidence from Mike Tomlin. He's a player's coach, so he will have the confidence. I just don't know if he'll have the scheme. And so we'll see if Justin Fields can be a good player this year, be the future for them, if Russell Wilson just completely takes the job and keeps the job or whatnot. They have talent. They're going to be in about every game because they are a well-coached team. They have T.J. Watt. They have a good defense. So they're going to be in, not every game, but they'll be in a lot of games. It's just going to come down to quarterback play. Can we make plays? And a lot of times, like we have seen, they're hit or miss. I think it's not going to be too much different. I think they got a marginally better at the quarterback position. But the way Mason Rudolph played last year towards the end, I think it's going to look probably similar to that from Russell or because Mason played pretty well. So I think I don't know if it's going to be much of an upgrade from how Mason ended the season, which could lead you to wins, but I don't think it'll lead you more to 7.
Look, if Mike Tomlin can get you 9 wins with Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph, who might as well be the three of us playing QB, why can't he get there with Russ and Justin Fields? That's the logical question. The case against this team, I've never in my life seen this. You guys peek at their schedule. They've got all 6 divisional games in the second half of the year. I've never in my life seen that.
They have to go into that stretch 7-3, roughly, or they're not doing a thing. I'm going to read it off, Kyle, real quick, and then you go on with everything you have. They end the season after week 11 with Baltimore, Cleveland, Cincy, Cleveland, Eagles, Baltimore, Kansas City, Cincinnati.
0 wins.
They will get they'll split with Cleveland, and they might split with the Bengals because for some reason, but I mean at that point the Bengals could be humming. So if they don't get to that with 7-8 wins, they're done.
And that's the thing.
Their season's over.
That's the thing. That's why it's so tough. The front of their schedule is pretty easy, and all the games that you would say are a coin flip, aside from the Falcons game, because that's a coin flip, but that's going to be known as the Arthur Smith game, just like the next week's going to be known as the Russell Wilson game because they got the Broncos the next week. Okay, they're catching the Falcons at the right time. They got the Colts in a dome. That's on the road, but all the games you'd consider tough on that front end, Cowboys they got at home, Jets they got at home, and then they got the Commanders and they got the Giants on the road. Or actually, they got the Giants at home, but they got the Commanders on the road. That's one of the tougher road games. Raiders on the road. Very winnable games. So they very well could be 7-3. I actually almost expect them to be 7-3. I mean, you're going to have at the least, you're going to have a calm and a consistency at the QB position that they didn't have with Kenny Pickett. I mean, he's terrible. He's absolutely terrible. But Russ isn't much better. I mean, he really is, but I mean, he's very, I don't want to say inconsistent. You just really don't know what you're getting from Russ at this point. But I do expect him to be better than Kenny Pickett. And if he were to get injured, I expect Justin Fields to at least give another dimension to that offense. I say all that to say, I had 3 records written down for them, 7-10, 9-8, and 8-9. And I had nothing bold because I could not come to a decision between 8-9 and 9-8. And I think I do settle on 8-9 because of that back end of the schedule. There is a world, and you keep hearing me say this with all these teams. I give you the downside, I give you the floor of the teams, and I give you the ceiling. Obviously, the ceiling I just said is only 9-8 for this team, so it's almost more probable than not that they end up with 7 wins or 8 wins or even 6 wins. I think they get to 8, but if they go under 500, yes, I know they just gave Tomlin a new contract, but if it ends 7-10, like y'all say, I think this is Tomlin's last season, which would make him the hottest coaching free agent aside from Mike Vrabel and Bill Belichick if he's still going to be coaching. But, I mean, he's going to be right at the top of the list. And I think if they do go under 500, even if it's 8-9, I think this is his last season there. So, very interesting. I can't wait to monitor. Again, this is why this is my favorite division. You just got storylines all over the place from the Browns to the Steelers to the Ravens, and of course the Bengals we'll be talking about next. But I won't be surprised if they're 9-8, and especially if we do get some injuries to any QB in this division, whether it's Deshaun, whether it's Lamar, whether it's Joe Burrow. Man, they're going to be that team that can just up and steal one from you. I mean, they're going to be a top 5 defense, maybe even a top 1 defense. They could be that, and they're a very tough team to play at home, much like Cleveland. But just like Cleveland, we're going to have a lot of questions about their QB position. So it's fascinating to watch. I cannot wait.
Last but not least, we've got the Cincinnati Bengals. Timmy, would you like to start with the Cincinnati Bengals?
Sure. I would like to start out by saying, can we please sign Jamar Chase? Please? For my fantasy football team, can we just please sign Jamar Chase? I get it. He's got 2 years left on his rookie deal, but I'd like him to play a football game week 1.
Oh, he will. He's playing week 1.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Zach Taylor doesn't seem so confident anymore.
He's playing.
Last week, he was like, yeah, we'll have him. Don't worry. He'll practice this week. And then practice came, and he didn't practice, and now he's like, yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. So I'm a little worried.
It's like, I have no idea.
I still think they're going to be good. I think they could be good without Jamar Chase. I do. I think they've definitely downgraded at the running back position, but most of the team is still there. So I got them at 11-6. Very good football team. Whatever they can do to keep the Steelers at a 6-win team, win both their divisional games with them, sounds good.
So I have them the opposite of you in the sense of you had the Ravens 12-5 and the Bengals 11-6. I have them 12-5 and the Ravens at 11-6. I think with their schedule, they have the lightest schedule in the division. They start off the season light. the reason why I was high on them last year, and then I ended up putting them in the Super Bowl, winning the Super Bowl, but I was a little more skeptical the moment Joe Burrow had the calf injury, and it wasn't just because of the calf injury, it was because he wasn't able to practice with the team. This is now the first off season where he's able to practice with the team the entire off season. He had the appendix the year that they went with the Steelers when he threw like 4 picks in the first game. Obviously, he was coming off the leg injury after his first year. It was his rookie season, and then last year with the calf and the hand after that was mid-season anyway, but the calf really. So he's finally going to have a full preseason and an off season where he's with the team every day and he's able to practice with them. Another guy and another thing, as I've said, a vibes guy all year. I've been a vibes guy, and listening to him on multiple podcasts and listening to like the reports coming out of it, he seems laser focused. And a little bit, this matters just a hair. The Super Bowl is in Louisiana. I think that matters just a hair to him, with him obviously going to LSU, kind of making his name there. It's something that he even mentioned himself. So I think that matters just a hair. And so I got the Bengals 12-5. I think Joe Burrow has probably his best season yet. And I don't have any worry about Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase, other than when Burrow has been injured, has only played quarterback by Joe Burrow, because he even sat out his next year in college, so he could, and then ended up going to the Bengals. So I think if as long as Joe Burrow's there, he's going to be fine. I think he's back week 1.
I don't know if Jamar Chase is back week 1. Like Tim said, Zach Taylor does seem a little skeptical now. So you should have worry about week 1. But beyond week 1, no, I don't have worries about Jamar Chase. Matter of fact, I have them, like Tim, I have these guys at 11-6. I have them winning the division. There's easy schedules out there that have tough stretches. This is not one of them. Like, anytime they have a tough game, they might follow it up with another tough game, but it's followed by like 3 cake games. You can make the case, like Keenan said, 12 wins. You could even get to 13 wins, right? It all depends on how you feel about the division. And we've made our case for the other teams in the division. My whole entire worry with this team is Joe Burrow's wrist. You talk about vibes, that's great. I agree with you. Like, you're definitely hearing everything you want to hear out of the Bengals side of things. I just have legitimate worries about, and I think Bengals fans, or if you're a Bengals supporter, I think you should have legitimate worries about this wrist injury. It sounds like a 1 of 1. They don't let him practice 3 days in a row. That worries me. So I think, if he can stay healthy and he plays all 17 games, they're going to be in the playoffs. They'll probably win the division. They have the easier schedule out of the Ravens, and those two are the cream of the crop. But if he gets injured, we're back where we were last year. And I think I want to say there's a high chance, but I mean, he's now an injury risk the way we probably didn't look at him before. And the fact that this injury is just weird, I don't think we can ignore that. I didn't factor that into my record. I just took it as their schedule, and that's how I got to 11-6. And again, they could very well be a 12 or 13 win team, but this is one of those storylines again that I'm going to be paying attention to this season. His wrist, how they manage him, what's their playbook going to look like. Last year Keenan mentioned the calf. Keenan mentioned the calf, and this was a notoriously hot topic last year on the WBP. How they looked early on, how they threw away the preseason. What would go in Keenan's favor this year is that they took the preseason more seriously. Burrow played a little bit in the preseason. Burrow looked good in the preseason. But it's all going to come down to that wrist for me. If they're healthy, like I said, division winner. I think they come out on top as far as them versus the Ravens. And then, we'll get to the playoffs after that. But I am worried that this wrist could come back to bite them. And I hope that's not the case. I almost feel like this is their last season as a contender before a bit of a fall off. I feel like they could have some sort of drop off next year. I'm not saying it's their last contending season under Joe Burrow, but I do feel like after this season, you would take a bit of a step back talent wise. You do have to have questions about their defense. They do seem to patch it up no matter what. Their DC always seems to have them at least fundamentally sound and have them ready in the big games. And their offensive line's always going to be a question. So they can't protect Burrow and he gets injured. Obviously, needless to say, the season goes out the window. But that's my biggest question: is his wrist. So, yeah.
Okay.
How do you guys feel about the Slim Shady colored hair?
Joe Shady.
Yeah. Doesn't bother me. Truly, does not bother me at all.
He's trying to blend in with those.
That's something I don't care about, to be quite honest with you.
I'm surprised, Keenan, because you had strong takes about Tom Brady's hair throughout his career, and then you're quiet on the.
Yeah, no, I did. I hated Tom with the long hair. I truly did. This one doesn't bother me. I don't know why. He just feels locked into me. Just feels locked in. Truly.
As he should.
I had more of a question mark with his no back suit, but shout out to him for that. Shout out to him for his no back suit. But yeah, that's all I've got on this division. I think that it's going to be between the Bengals and Ravens. The Bengals will come out on top of that, and then we'll get to the playoffs and we'll see what's going on.
Any worries from you guys about the wrist?
Me, no.
So it doesn't.
I definitely got.
Go ahead, Tim. Go ahead.
I got a little bit of worry about it. I've definitely said this before. There have been doctors that have said like this specific wrist injury, like Kyle said, it doesn't really happen in the NFL or in even sports very often. But when it does happen to people, they do tend to lose strength in their wrist. Obviously, he's on a different rehab plan than most average Joes are, so maybe they got it back to full strength and whatever. And from what Keenan's saying, he doesn't seem to even talk about it or even acknowledge it as if it's going to be a hindrance towards them. So I do kind of believe in them. So I don't have a lot of worry, but it is definitely in my mind that maybe a re-aggravation could be an issue on like a short week if they have like a quick turnaround, and like you said, they can't practice 3 days in a row. That could definitely be a problem for them. So,
and Keenan, why do you have no worry about this rare wrist injury?
Because it's so rare. To be quite honest with you, I don't. It seems like a fluke, like a fluke kind of injury, and it's like one of those things where I would have to see it linger. I don't know anything about it. It's not an injury that's really common. So, like, I just don't have any concern until I see the need for concern. Like, until I watch like when I watch week 1 and I see him against New England, and if he looks just fine, I don't really, like, I'm waiting to see, because obviously in the preseason, you're not going to unload really much and everything like that. And I haven't heard much out of it. Like, you've heard it from doctors, you've heard it from, like you think is speculatory kind of things, but you really haven't heard anything out of Cincinnati where it's, like, other than, like, the practicing thing, and I don't know exactly why that is. So, I'm waiting to see. Just waiting to see. Same with, like, Rodgers and the Achilles and Kirk with the Achilles. Like, you have to naturally be like, what's going on there? But with them, waiting to see, I react. Being reactionary and not proactive with the thoughts, just reactionary.
Okay, all right. Sounds like I'm the most worried about it.
It's not like a wrong worry.
No. I mean,
it's so obscure that like it's kind of where like, oh, why did it happen? Could it happen again? And me, I'm on the other side. Like, it's so obscure. I don't think it's gonna be, but like we never know. We truly never know.
Yeah, no, I just think it's super interesting with the grip part of it, because that's what we saw. Like, that's the lasting memory last year is when he went to throw and he couldn't even finish the throwing motion. Like, he was in real pain.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tim says it's common that you lose feeling possibly, like, as far as grip goes. And I mean, I don't know. It's just something I'm going to monitor. And
it's something definitely to monitor, and it's interesting.
The storylines
I'm reactionary.
For sure.
I'm reactionary. Once I see it's a problem, then we'll react to it. That's just really how I'm approaching a lot of injuries this season. Once I see it, I'm going to worry about it then.
A-okay.
Right. Is there anything else that anyone's got on these two divisions? We got through the AFC. Shout out to us.
The AFC. and I cannot wait to go through the NFC. This is fun. This is fun. And I think our NFC shows are going to be super fun. Then we're going to have the playoff show for you and the bold prediction show for you. This is what the Warner Brothers podcast is all about right here. And Tim, I got to say, you've already came through with the takes. You've already came through with the spiciness. So I cannot wait for when we do record. Oh shit, Keenan! We should have known Keenan was not worried about the wrist injury with them rocking the Burrow jersey. We should have known. We should have known, but I cannot wait.
Decided to keep it under wraps, so here you just see there. You don't see
it's like fully blocked. I know.
You don't see the Burrow. That's fine.
No, I cannot wait for the bold prediction show. I think Tim's gonna come through with scorching heat. Camden Dennis levels. Shouts to Camden, by the way, birth of his son.
Yeah, shout out to Cam. Shout out to Cam.
Cannot wait. Absolutely cannot wait.
All right. Well, this was the Warner Brothers Podcast. Thank you, Timmy, of course. Thank you, Kyle, of course. We will be back here very shortly talking about the NFC and getting into the NFL season picks, predictions, all of that good stuff that Kyle just alluded to. So appreciate all of you guys, and we will see you very soon.